Disclaimer. This podcast will mostly deal with the relationship between men. If you as a listener is comfortable with this subject matter, please sit back and enjoy the program. Welcome, listeners, to A Night of Wonder. This is the Two-Timer series, Collective, a collection of different genres created by D.B. Watson, writer of the Two-Timer series. In this program, you will hear a different tale once a week read by me, A.J. Carter. If you enjoy any of these stories, please show your support by ringing that bell, giving a thumbs up, and a follow. Thank you. Keep Your Distances. Chapter 3 of the Sci-Fi Fallen. A delightful aroma filled Poe's nose, who had awoken from a restful slumber that he didn't remember taking. He opened his eyes to unfamiliar surroundings. He noticed he was laying on a bed. He eyed a chair beside the bed with the book open and face down on the cushion. Poe eased himself to a sitting position, allowing the blanket that covered him to slip from his shoulder. A sudden chill brushed his skin and he found his clothes were missing. He looked under the spread and found he was disrobed and his naked body smelled different. Someone bathed me, he thought. He ran his finger through his full hair of curls that was long enough where he pulled a few strands straight and pressed them to his nose, where he smelled a sweet scent that seemed to relax him. And they washed my hair. He drew his legs to his chest, wrapping his arms around them and exposing his slim, nude body. I remember being in a battle, then Mom sent me to a shuttle, a portal, trees, then falling. Poe grabbed his head, trying to remember when a door opened. He focused his eyes on the doorway when he remembered he needed to cover his body. In haste, he grabbed the blanket and covered his body just as someone holding a tray entered the room. Poe locked eyes with the rugged man whose eyes smiled at him. "You're up," he said. Poe recognized his dialect. The man placed the tray down on a table by the window and turned to Poe. He wore black pants with black low-cut boots, a white button-up shirt with a black jacket. He approached the bed when he saw Poe flinch back, pulling the blanket closer to his body. "Don't be afraid," he said, holding his hands out. "I'm not going to hurt you." Poe never responded. He only shook his head no. The man stepped back, seeming to think over his next move. He looked at Poe and placed his hand on his chest. "My name is Simon." He points at him. "What's your name?" Poe heard enough to understand him. "You're asking me my name? So you can understand and speak. I'm a fast learner. So what is your name?" "What's the point? I'm not staying. Where are my clothes?" "They're being cleaned." "I will wait until they are cleaned, then leave." "Okay." Poe was shocked. He agreed without argument. "Are you hungry?" Poe thought over his question and shook his head. "Well, good. I brought you some food." He waved to the table. Poe clenched the blanket tighter. "Oh, yes, your robe. I have one picked out for you." Simon moved to the end of the bed, picking up a robe off the end stool. He started to move to him when Poe moved away. "Okay, I'll just lay it here." He placed the robe on the bed in reach of Poe. When he backed away, Poe leaned over and snatched it up. "I'll turn my back and promise not to peek." Just as he turned, Poe had the robe on and moved swiftly to the table in the chair closest to the window. He opened it in case he needed to escape. "May I turn now?" asked Simon. "Yes," Poe said, stuffing his mouth with the strange food that smelled good. Simon was stunned at how fast Poe got dressed and was eating already. He moved to the table and sat across from him. Poe never took his eyes off him while he ate. Simon watched and smiled at Poe's poor table manners. "Why are you smiling?" Poe asked, still chewing. "Well, if you keep eating like that, you're going to get too full for dessert." Poe stopped chewing and gave Simon a curious glare. "What is dessert?" "Dessert? Oh, well, it's usually a sweet treat." "Sweet? You have sweets here?" "I do." Poe studied the table. "What here is the sweet treat?" "That would be under this tome." Simon rose the silver lid, revealing a triangle-shaped food that Poe never saw before. "Are those berries on top?" Poe asked. "Yes, underneath is called a cheesecake." "Cheesecake? But cheese is not sweet." "Oh, but it is. Taste it."
Poe wiped his hands on the cloth napkin before he reached for the cake and brought it to his mouth, taking a bite. His eyes widened from the creamy, dense sweetness he had never tasted. Simon watched as he wolfed it down, licking his fingers as he sat back satisfied. "I see you enjoyed it. I guess since you're done, I'll go check to see if your clothes are done." Simon stood to leave when Poe spoke. "My name is Poe." "Well, hello, Poe. Can I have some more sweets? Aren't you in a hurry?" Poe looked out the window towards the cluster of trees. "I need to join my family when they come for me." "Will that be soon?" "I don't know." Simon sat down. "Poe, do you remember how you got here?" "A portal." "From space?" Poe nodded. "You fell from the sky." "I fell out of my pod. Sorry." "Don't be. What person can say they met an angel?" "An angel? I'm not. Then what should I call you?" After some thought, "Poe." Simon's laugh seemed to affect Poe, who smiled back. "Can you tell me where my pod is?" "I assure you it's safe. I can take you to it." "Yes, please." "Will you leave in it?" "I can't. The mothership needs to be close by for the pod to respond." "Well, wouldn't it be better to stay here until your family comes for you?" "My mother told me if I ever land on a strange planet, I was to hide until she finds me. It's going to snow for the next 3 days. I can promise you'll be well cared for if you stay here." Poe thought it over. "Can I have more sweets?" "Yes." "All right, but only until my family comes." "Of course."
Thank you for listening. This was a short story by D.B. Watson and read by me, A.J. Carter. If you want to hear more of the story, please leave a comment. You can find the thriller series at Amazon.com under D.B. Watson/Two-Timer series, on audio at Audible.com, and Kindle Villa. If you would like to hire me, A.J. Carter, to narrate your project, you can find me on acx.com/AJ Carter. Thank you, and see you next week.